Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Today we have with us back on the show, Stephan Gebedi of Thanatos. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, Jet, how you doing? It's Stephan. All the way from Holland in quarantine as well, of course.
I know, it sucks. So, let's get into a little bit of what's going on with your band over there while you're all in quarantine. So tell people...
Yeah.
Tell people that might not be totally familiar with you guys, how would you describe the music you guys play?
Okay, well, we've been around since 1984. We've had a lengthy break in the 90s, but we probably are the first ever death thrash metal band from Holland, even back in the day when we didn't label ourselves death or black or thrash metal, whatever. But anyway, we're still doing that after all these years, and we just made our new album, Violent Death Rituals, and it's still a mixture of death and thrash metal, and goes back to the old school days, but we're trying to mix the old school influences with a sound and a production that fits 2020. That's basically what we're doing.
And now, after you're I'm going to call it your main band for now. Hail of Bullets kind of disbanded 3 years ago or so. You kind of jumped back over to Thanatos, which always seemed to kind of take a back seat to Hail of Bullets, even though you guys were still coming out with albums and stuff. So your last full-length album with Thanatos came out 6 years ago with an entirely different rhythm section. So when did you jumpstart Thanatos, and why did you get a new bass player and drummer, and how did you go about choosing those two artists?
Okay, well, yeah, Thanatos basically has always been my main band, and Hail of Bullets was the project that got bigger than expected. So yeah, and it took it took a lot of time, to get that right, because it became more successful than we ever could have imagined when we started it. So most of our time went into Hail of Bullets. That's true for about 9 or 10 years. But anyway, when Hail of Bullets disbanded in 2017, if I'm correct, yeah, There was some shit going on with Thanatos as well, because we've had this steady lineup for almost 18 years back then, and our drummer had some injuries on his foot even before the recordings of the previous albums, and it started acting up again. So he told us I'm not able anymore to perform, and I think you should look out for a new drummer. At that moment, we were we have really, after all these years, we have to get back and start looking for another band member. We were really not into that, but anyway, we found our drum tech willing to step in, and he was recommended by our previous drummer. So in stepped Martin Ooms, who's been a good friend of the band for years, and like I said, he was our drum tech for the last couple of years as well. And so we started playing shows again with him not on a high profile yet, but we did some shows in Europe here and there. And slowly we also started writing new material again. So in 2018, we were ready for another album. And then our bass player, who had been with us for 18 years as well, I guess, said that he was not longer, he still wanted to be in the band for playing shows, but he was not into doing another record with us. So yeah, he had to go, obviously, and in stepped a guy called Maus Mierer, and he's actually a cousin of Martin's. So we've already known this guy for ages as well, and he stepped in just before the recordings of the new album, and he did a great job with that. So yeah, that's why we have a new rhythm section now, which came together in the last couple of years. So
with these new guys, did this change the dynamic of the band at all for you guys? It doesn't sound like it, but did you feel like it did?
Yeah, sort of, because especially with Martin, he started out as a guitarist, then switched to drums and back to guitars again. He played in bands like Malakesh for a while, and he also contributed some songs to the new album, because he's also still a great guitar player, even better than Paul and me, I guess. So he wrote some songs for the new album, and he's a really perfectionist kind of guy. So I think he pushed us quite a bit to start writing good songs as well again. So there was a little bit of competition about who's going to do the best songs, and this gave us a real kick in the butt, and that's, I think, how the new album and the new material came about. So that's a really cool way how things were going,
And also in Thanatos, you're the vocalist as well as the guitar player. So what's it like for you to now be the front man?
I've been doing that all my life, obviously, because when I started the band in '84, I was also the singer and the guitarist. So it's not new for me. And Hail of Bullets, it was a little bit different, of course, because I played only guitar in that band, and we had a separate singer in the form of Martin van Drunen. But yeah, it's quite natural for me, So like it's something I've always done, and it works well for me. And I'm a cool guy on stage as a frontman, I'm trying. I do my best, I can deal with the crowd. It works pretty well for me, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the new album, Violent Death Rituals. So who is the main songwriter for the band now, Stephan?
That's still me, I guess. I've been writing most of the songs in our long career, and this time I think I wrote 50 to 60% of the songs, the music, and all the lyrics, obviously. But Paul Byers, the other guitarist, wrote 3 songs, and Martin wrote 2. So yeah, it's a bit of a team effort. The bass player Mouse, he came in too late to contribute any riffs or ideas. He just stepped in a month before we started recording, so he just had to learn the songs, and he did really well. And maybe on the next record he also contributes some stuff, but this time it was a bit more of a team effort than the last couple of albums, which I wrote on my own for the most part, the biggest part, I guess.
Now, was the music for this album some of it already previously written before you all sat down to make this album, or did it all come out after you guys were like, we're going to make this album?
Yeah, I think the latter option, because we're quite a lazy band when it comes to songwriting. But this time, we were on the verge of we've been there before. But after the last album with the drummer, calling it quits, and we were like, okay, are we going to continue with this band or not? And then we got this kick in the butt and started thinking about doing another record. But that was already in 2018, and then I think we started writing in the summer of 2018, and I think about 8 or 9 months later, we got like 8 or almost 10 songs finished. So for us, this was pretty quickly. We started writing in summer 2018. Before the summer of 2019, we were finished, which is quite fast for us, for Thanatos. But all the songs came about in like 1 year. So it's no old material, maybe 1 or 2 riffs that we had. I think maybe I used 1 or 2 Hail of Bullets riffs for one of the songs, but that's the only thing that was lying around, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty new material all the way.
Now, did you guys go for like a certain formula in the music on this album as to what you wanted it to sound like?
Well, it's not really like we have a master plan set out from the beginning, but this time there was some sort of feeling that we wanted to bring back that had been missing ever since the second album we did in the early 90s. We did the Realm of Ecstasy album in 92, and that one has always remained my favorite because apart from the speed and the aggression that's in the music, it also had a really dark atmosphere and some sort of, let's call it a bit of an evil feeling, and it was missing in the previous albums of Thanatos, I think, the ones that we did in the last 10 years. So I think we managed to bring that back, and that was done on purpose. We brought back a little bit of the darkness and evil that was missing on the albums that came before this one. So we got the aggression, we got the heaviness, but we also brought back some of those dark, eerie melodies here and there. And I think that's basically what we set out to do.
And now, being the vocalist, how do you come up with like your lyrics pertaining to this album?
Oh well, it's easy. I'm like a old bitter man, so I look around at what's going on in the world, and I come up with these really, streams of hatred that I try to translate into lyrics. It's not that difficult, I see a lot of shit going on, whether it's organized religion or media manipulation or indoctrination from whoever is trying to do that, and those are the main topics that appear in our songs. So I think it comes pretty much straight from the heart, unfortunately. So that's where the aggression comes from. It's like things that I observe and that piss me off, and that I try to translate into the lyrics. So that's basically.
Well, now that you mentioned that, Stephan, it sounds like an old bitter man is writing all these. Like, this fucking dude is pissed.
Yeah, I am. I'm so pissed, normally I still like to party as well. It's not like I'm pissed 24/7, But when I think of the things that are going on in the world and I look at the news and all the shit, even the political correctness, even on the internet, on Facebook, people reporting each other, the bands. I think, oh my, come on, what are we living in? Like a real life version of 1984. And sometimes it really pisses me off to see that kind of shit going on. And I think that triggers me to write lyrics that are pretty much pissed off as well. But I can have a good time. I can enjoy myself. It's not that bad all the time.
Not all the time. So let's talk about a few of the songs. All right. So track number 5, "Burn the Books of Hate." Now, what are the Books of Hate?
Well, they're not like most novels from Stephen King or anything. No, it's more like, the big religious books of the main organized religions that have been causing a lot of shit and sadness all over the world in the many centuries. And basically the book is about that. And not only about religion, but also about, guidelines that try to keep people down, So it's mainly about the religious books, but also the books that are not really books, but rules set up by authorities and means to keep people down and keep them, trying to limit the freedom of people. That's the most thing that comes across.
And the closing track, right, as the Canaan Stage. So tell us about this song and why you chose this particular song to close out the entire album.
Okay, well, I think it's a little bit. The song is a little bit different from the rest because it's a bit slower, and we tuned the guitars a little bit lower on that one. So it was a song that gave me this little feeling of a war song, and of course we've been doing that with Hail of Bullets in the past, and this song, I'm not saying it sounds like Hail of Bullets, not at all. It also has this Slayer vibe going on, but I think in one way or another, I imagined this war scene with it. So that song is about the stupidity of war and a total. It's like, I think it was inspired by one of the war movies that I saw in the past, and with like the total ridiculousness of a war and a certain battle, which is people lying in front of a hill, and when you finally take that hill, there's nothing behind that, So you pick up your bags and go for the next one. It's like the total lack of how do you call it? I'm searching for the word now, but anyway, it's like totally in vain, the stuff that it's like an anti-war song. Maybe we've had a lot of aggressive songs and a lot of songs about death and destruction, but this one is pretty much one about the insanity of war.
So how long did it take you guys to record all of this, and did you record this locally?
Well, we did it in several studios or home studios. We did the drums in the studio of Michiel van der Plicht, the drummer from God Dethroned. He has his own drum studio, and I think Martin recorded the drums in 3 days, I guess. At one day for setting up the gear, and then I think in 2.5 days he recorded all the drum tracks, so that went really quickly. Then we did the guitars and the bass at our home studios. And then I picked a local studio here in Rotterdam to do the vocals. And it all went pretty quickly, apart from the guitars and the bass, because we had some fuck-ups with the equipment. So we had to do some songs over again, which were already recorded and sounded fine. So there was some technical issues. Apart from that, everything went pretty smoothly, I guess. And in the end, we sent the stuff to Dan Swano from Sweden to do the mixing, and that turned out great as well.
It did. Now, do you guys have a label?
Yeah, we were on Listenable Records from France. We were on Century Media, but that deal expired, and because we didn't have any material ready, like 2 or 3 years after the previous album, they said, well, if you don't have any new material, we cannot keep the deal going. So we understood that. We said, yeah, whatever, We'll see if there will be another record or not. And like I said, 2018, we started writing again, and then we went shopping for a new deal. And Listenable Records from France, who have been working with bands like Gojira and Immolation in the past, so they're a pretty respected label. They picked us up, and that's where we are now. It's our first album for Listenable, and so far the cooperation has been pretty good.
So a couple of gear questions for you really quick. What is your setup for Thanatos, and do you use the same guitar throughout the entire recording process?
I used a few. I've been using Schecter Solo 6 guitars with the rhythms, and for the solos, I think I picked my Epiphone Ritchie Faulkner V a couple of times. I've got these BC Rich and J series that I also used for the leads and some extra parts. And normally on stage we use like Marshalls all the way. We use like JCM 800s, and I use very little effect pedals. Just a bit of equalizers and maybe a wah pedal, but all my distortion comes from the tube amps. So I think with Paul it's a little different story. He uses a lot of shit for his guitar solos and setup, but it's basically the tube amps that give us the sound that we want. And,
it gives it kind of that more old schooly tone or something to it. It's for the listener at least, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we're not going for the totally high gain, more modern American sound, I guess.
The nerve.
The nerve. It's not like I like Mesa Boogie, but it's not like we have the Mesa Boogie sound. We much more go back to the British sound, that was created with the old bands in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
So, and maybe with Slayer, there's also a band that's really martial sounding, So that's, I think we sound a bit heavier than Slayer, of course, but we have a bit of a similar guitar sound, I guess.
You do. Now, do you have any endorsements, Stephan?
We've been with, do you call it Ibanez or Ibanez over there, guitars? Well, I've been with Schecter for a while, but that has expired now, so I'm still with Ibanez, and we've got Seymour Duncan pickups that we use. We use mostly Seymour Duncan blackouts in all guitars. Those are really powerful pickups. So those are mainly our endorsers, and we have, I think, for Paul uses a local guitar amp brand from Germany. It's called Ear Force, but I think it's like a boutique amp, but it's not a big brand or anything. But it's a very good thing that he uses, and that's I think he's endorsed by those guys as well.
So what formats is this album going to be released on, and where can people pick up a copy of it along with other merch?
Okay, well, it's available as CD, digital, of course. There's a vinyl. There's two vinyl versions, red marbled vinyl and black vinyl. I think Listenable has their own shops at listenable.net, and I think it's also officially released in the US. I think they have some sort of outlet over there or some sort of division. So it should be available over there as well. And of course, the CD version and the shirts can be ordered from our web store as well, which can be accessed either through our website, www.thanatos.info, or the Facebook page, which is Thanatos 333. And I think when you look up the band, you get like to merch links everywhere. And I think Listenable has those links on their page as well. It's listenable.net. And they have this shop going on. So it should be easy to get hold of the album. And of course, it's on all the digital platforms as well, Spotify and whatever. But I don't know too much about that. I'm old.
I understand. I feel your pain, Stephan. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did two videos for the album. We did a lyric video that's out on YouTube, and we did some sort of performance video for the second track.
Oh, cool.
Which is called Silent War. So look those up if you want to.
All right, well, there you guys go. Thanatos has a new album out called Violent Death Rituals on Listenable Records, and you can go to their Facebook page and find links to all kinds of goodies. And once again, Stephan, as always, thank you for coming on the show, and all the best to you and the band.
Thank you very much, and all the best to you guys out there, and stay safe and stay fucking metal as well, I guess. That's the most important thing.